Well, let's share something from the Seerah, and then which ties in with today's session really of resilience, and then I'll share the link and people can come on. And so this is a hadith that you have utitu bi mafatihi khaza'in al-ard. Okay, keys to the world. But with this in mind, I want to share a snippet from the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, something to inspire you. Okay, when that ties in with this, with resilience in life, but also with vision, with ambition, and with seeing, dreaming, and aspiring to achieve big in life. Okay. Many of us know the incident of Khandaq. Okay, Ghazwa Khandaq. What had happened is the Quraysh, who were against the Prophet ﷺ, had formed an alliance, a coalition with many large tribes. Okay, those from Qais Aylan, from Ghatfan, and others like Bani Sulaim, and they had several large tribes that were also considered, some of them from the kind of Jamarat al-Arab, those that were standalone tribes who had formed this coalition known as Al-Ahzab, which means the coalition. So, and there's a surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Ahzab, which discusses some of this as well. Now, the Prophet ﷺ heard about this, as did the Muslims in Medina, that this coalition had formed and they were getting ready to come and attack the Muslims. And the Prophet ﷺ was very disturbed by this. Suddenly, in a heartbeat, the joyous laughter of children in Medina, the kind of chattering of the people in the markets in Medina, the everyday life, what was the kind of heart throbbing away, pulsating in this city, in this town, was within a split second brought into compromise. It's known. I mean, there's no doubt on what would happen to all these people should this coalition be successful. And the coalition was a mighty one. The tribes of Ghatfan are huge. This was a huge tribe, very powerful as well. Now, the Prophet was concerned that what do we do? So it's at this point that Salman al-Farisi advises the Prophet, and this is very well known, that he tells the Prophet that, look, from the legacy or the tradition or the tactics of the Sassanids, because he was Persian, and I've got another video explaining where about Salman al-Farsi, about the Battle of Badr and the angels, and that's a different discussion, and I speak about that and alternate theories, but how Salman al-Farsi's background I mentioned in that, radiallahu an, and he was somebody that he wasn't just anybody from Persia. He was a significant person that had also held a high accomplishing military role in his life as well, but he was also somebody, a deep philosopher as well, in search of faith and truth. So he advises the Prophet of the trenches. We would dig trenches where the invading armies couldn't traverse them, because how do you get past the trenches in your horses and camels? You can't. And if you jump into them, you can't really climb out on the other end. And if you do, you're exposed. So the Prophet ﷺ says that that's an excellent idea. This also goes to show, on a side note, that how taking from other cultures is something that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged. Now they start to dig the trenches, and normal life has come to a standstill. And the days go by and they're digging these trenches. And the armies are approaching, the coalition armies. So the people in Medina are very kind of shaken. They're also not just shaken because of the fear, which they naturally are, but also the physical threat, which is not just war, but hunger. Because, see, they've had to be just working, and you're digging a trench around the whole entire town. Nobody's out there getting food or harvesting or trading, or people are beginning to get hungry, and people are beginning to really, it's getting to them, it's weakening them. And now that you're weak, you're not really feeling we can take them on. You're not feeling mighty. You're not feeling, you're despondent. And then they're thinking, damn. And these rumors had already spread, or some rumors had spread, that Bani Nadir and Bani Qurayza, that these Jewish settlements, which were really on the outskirts of the town, because when you're digging trenches, they can still penetrate them, that they had a secret treaty or an agreement to betray the Muslims of Medina. These rumors had started to spread, and something that the Muslims also uncovered later on, because they actually did. They actually had an opening, because the Bani Qurayza settlements had access still to Medina, the town. So all of these things are going on. People are thinking, damn, they're looking at their children who are hungry, who also, for all we know, within maybe a day's notice or 2 days, maybe massacred or killed. And there's just this fear. And this is looming in Medina. And what happens is, during this time, the coalition has arrived, by the way, but they can't traverse the trenches because they were like huge trenches. So they've just setting up camp. They're just setting up camp. And they think, well, you know what we'll do is we will lay siege. We'll starve them out. No food can go in. And they did for something like just under a month. But whilst this is happening, the Muslims are fortifying these trenches. Now, what happens is there's a rock, a boulder, a huge rock under. As you're kind of digging deeper on certain parts of this trench, there's a boulder that the companions, they're hitting it. They've got their axe pick. They can't break it. And they just stop. They look at each other, and then they go to the Prophet ﷺ. And they say, Ya Rasulullah, i'taradatna sakhra. There's a boulder. There's a rock. The Prophet ﷺ looks at them, looks into their eyes. It's not the boulder. It's not the rock, people. It's the calamity. It's the despondency. It's the creeping despair. The Prophet can see that these people are losing the spirit. That losing is an actuality that has appeared to them in their hearts and minds. The Prophet ﷺ, how does he respond? He immediately gets up. He says, come with me, smiles. He says, come with me. companions outside see the Prophet ﷺ approaching. He takes the axe pick from one of them, smiles, shoulders up, comes straight up to this. They're looking at the Prophet ﷺ. He just seems to be positive, undeterred. He looks at them, he says, Hadi, this rock. He raises the axe pick. And the Prophet says, Bismillah with the first, and he strikes down at this rock. Strikes it with his might. And a portion of it chips away. And the Prophet says, Allahu Akbar. He smiles and he says, Utitu mafatih ar-Rum. Allah. They're looking at the Prophet. He says, I've been given the keys to Rome. He says, Ka'anni ara. He says, it's as though I can see the palaces draped in red. Because that's how the Romans had decorated some of their palaces. They look at the Prophet, he raises the axe pick, slams it down. Second time, and you see this crack appearing in the boulder, and the Prophet says, Allahu Akbar. Utitu mafatih Faris. He says, I've been given the keys to the kingdom of the Sassanids, to Kisra. He says, it's as though I can see, they had this white palace in this city called Madain, and it was white. And he says, it's as though I can see the Qasra Madain Abyad. I can see the white beaming palace of Madain belonging to Kisra. And the Prophet smiles at them. He raises for the final time, third strike, the axe pick slamming down onto this rock, and it cracks open. And the Prophet says, Allahu Akbar. Utitu mafatih al-Yaman. He says, it's as though I can see Sana'a from where I stand. Allahu Akbar. The people cried out, Allahu Akbar. The coalition that are standing there, I mean, they've kind of laid camp. Obviously, they can't understand what the high spirits are about these people. In the days that follow, they are struck with a sandstorm that becomes so out of control that they have to kind of dissipate and disappear, and then the tribes give up with them, say that, Ghatfan says, we haven't got time for you, and they leave them, and they eventually break away, and this siege is broken, and this coalition dissipates and disappears. But this point, coming to this lesson, see, that's the history side. The lesson is that, you see, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sees that these people, their hearts are being struck with the potential for failure. And he rises, he smiles. In the face of adversity, he goes out. These people are facing a threat from who? Coalition of tribes. Coalition. Ghatfan, it's a big tribe. These people, yes, Qais Ailan, you've got Bani Sulaim, you've got these people. You've got Quraysh. Yes, it's big. Relatively speaking, in front of you, it's big. Who are the super empiric, the empire kingdoms, the dynasties of the world surrounding those people? The Sassanid Empire, the Persians, the Roman Empire. the southern Arabian Himyarite, the Himyari or the Himyarite dynasties, the dynasts, the kings, the empires that have the legacies they claim for over 1,000 years. In southern Arabia, the Himyari kingdoms have been going on for centuries. The Romans have been going on for centuries. The Persian Sassanid have an aged, ancient dynasty and an empire and heritage. These are huge, huge, galactic, relatively speaking, prospects or just landscapes. The immediate threat is these tribes, Ghatfan and Sulaim and so on, these things. The Prophet, what he sees, when he sees the despondency in the eyes of some, beaming positivity, he strikes down on each strike, raising their ambition, setting this vision in their eyes that, yeah, you're talking about this. I've just seen Utitu Mafatih Allah. You're talking about this, Ghatfan. Rome has fallen to us. It has opened up for us. People are thinking, what is the Prophet? What is he saying? Striking down Kisra and the wealth and the opulence of the Sassanid Empire has opened its doors to us. What are you talking about? The final strike, not only does the rock split apart, the Prophet says, Yemen, these dynasties, this legacy of centuries of these kingdoms, southern Arabian kingdoms, they've opened their door to it. It's as though I can see it. He puts the vision, the seed of the vision in the minds and hearts of those around him. And from that moment, it is set into motion. When they're at the lowest of the low, that's when you should aim the highest, because you're rock bottom anyway. La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ana. This was the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when the people around him, they needed leadership, not only did he show them that, the Prophet could have said, yes, don't worry, we're going to be okay, But don't even look, set your aim even higher. वो भी करके देखेंगे. That the poem that we had, that kashti ko khuda pe chhod de, leave it, kashti ka khuda khud hafiz hai. Mushkil to nahi in mojon mein behta hua sahil aa jaye. That this is it. That a jazba dil gar mein chahun, har cheez muqabil aa jaye. Manzil ke liye do gaam chalun, aur samne manzil aa jaye. Allahu Akbar. And really it goes to show how the true leadership, wallahi, these things people, they do cite the battles, they do cite these things, but these gems, priceless gems that were the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, they've got all this threat, but he is helping, he's cultivating their spirit and raising the bar of ambition, saying, yeah, you're worried about Ghatfan and these people, Qais Ailan, and ye kya cheez hai? There's the puri dunya, we've got the whole world ahead of us, and I can see it already. Don't you see it? Allahu Akbar. This is the resilience that whatever you're facing in life, you can take heed, you can take a lesson from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. That look, maybe like, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier on, you could be at the lowest of the low. And you know what? Since you're rock bottom anyway, I'm going to, at this state, envisage the highest. I'm going to see it in my mind's eye. I'm going to do a visual dua. I'm going to see it. You're talking, I'm like, oh, I've seen 10 times better than what I was or what I was expecting. I've already seen it. Do you not see it? This is, I wanted to share that from the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May it be of some benefit to us all.